Hello, everyone. Welcome to Nails and Beauty Talk, NFTs, Crypto and Web3. I am your host, Asia the Bird. Today, I have a very special guest with me today. She is the co-founder of DeadFellaz. She is the queen of the Horde. Please welcome Betty. Hello, Betty, and welcome to the show.
Hi, thank you so much for having me. It's been a long time coming. We've been trying to record this for a while and I keep canceling.
Yeah,
So
it's all good. I mean, I could totally understand, like, people have, like, you guys have like busy schedules and things pop up and things. So it's totally understandable. But it's good to have you. So,
good to be here, finally.
we're finally here. So I definitely want to go ahead and really get started by asking, where are you from, and tell us a little about your upbringing.
Yeah, totally. So it's kind of a big question. I was born in the north of England, in Yorkshire. I lived there for many of my younger years and then moved to Australia as a child with my family. Spent most of my life there, but I have also lived in many other countries. So I'm from all over the place, really. But I'm technically
Right.
English and Australian, and now I live in LA. So yes,
Oh,
it's
cool.
yeah.
Yeah, how do you like LA so far?
I love LA. LA was never on the cards for me. I never thought, oh, I want to move to the US or anything like that. But it's like we got here and there was a life waiting for us, you know?
Right.
Working in this space is so difficult from Australia, where the majority of our team are from the US.
Right.
The majority of our collaborators are from the US, and a large portion of the active community right now are in North America. So it's a very global movement, but just in
Right.
terms of quick traction, it made a lot of sense to move here, and it's been really effective and honestly has brought a lot of balance into our lives. We're able to sleep on a night rather than working all night, which is awesome. Yeah.
Now, did you have any prior interests in regards to, like, did you have any interests when you were growing up, like, of different subjects, different, hobbies or anything before you got into NFTs?
Yeah, I've always been someone that's interested in lots of different things, and I think that people that live like that and kind of follow what they're interested in can end up becoming a little bit jaded when they get older. And I think that the reason
Right.
for that is that there is this prescribed set of things that you're supposed to do, right? Like you're supposed to,
Mhm.
and it starts from really young, but you're supposed to know what you want to be when you grow up. And then you go to
Right.
the guidance counselor and they're like, okay, you
Mhm.
should do this, you're supposed to go to school and get your diploma and get a job and get married and buy a house and all of these things and promotions. And it's just this like, this life that when you're into a lot of different things all the time, you can't really fit into. And so I think that people like that feel
Mhm.
frustrated. I did start to feel like that a little bit, but I've found that this industry has allowed me space to apply all of the things that I'm interested into one thing,
Mhm.
um, and have the freedom to explore those different things that all kind of make sense. So, yeah, like I've always loved science and history and nature and art and, all of that. And here I can kind of do all of that, which is really cool.
Yeah, that's really awesome. But I definitely want to get into also too. So you were the director of a creative production agency. You worked in community management and also creative production for 11 years. So what
Mhm.
got you into being, a director for a creative agency, and what was the agency?
Okay, so again, lived this kind of unconventional life
Mhm.
where I haven't had many normal jobs. And ever since I realized I don't want to work for anyone else, I've kind of made it my point to find things that I can do for myself.
Mhm.
Um, my husband, who is the co-founder of DeadFellaz Psych, he's the artist as well. He and I have worked together for many years. So we're the
Mhm.
co-directors on a creative production agency that we worked on prior to DeadFellaz. It was very different to this in that we were not public. Nobody knew who we were. We didn't have a website. We didn't advertise or market or anything like that. We were vendors for Fortune
Mhm.
500 companies. So we would just get
Right.
passed from client to client. We were very blessed. We had great clients. We were able to work online only, which was
Mhm.
fantastic. Teams that we worked with were all over the world online as well. So it's kind of not that removed from what we're doing now, with the
Mhm.
exception of being very under the radar. Whereas now, obviously, very public. which is interesting. And yeah, so we worked on that. We would do data visualization and video games and all
Right.
kinds of stuff. And then aside from that, it would be
Mhm.
in my spare time, I would do community building. So I would host workshops, wellness retreats. I would help people develop business infrastructure and mutual aid
Mhm.
funds, stuff like that for women and gender diverse people and
Mhm.
First Nations communities as well. So
Mhm.
lots of work, always very busy. But yeah,
Mhm.
I've been able to kind of apply all that to this space. So that's been great.
Yeah, that's really, really cool. Now, did you go to college for anything? Did you major in anything possibly?
This is also a funny story. I have studied for many years in many different things and never
Mm.
achieved the actual qualification of the thing.
It's
So
all good.
yeah, and this also speaks to the kind of person that I am in that once I've once I feel that I've gotten the value that I need,
Right,
I don't invest any more time into that because the value has been received. I think that there's that
right.
wasted time fallacy where we're like,
Uh-huh.
so for example, I studied biomed and I did
Mhm.
that for a long time. So I'm about 6 months away from a biomed degree. Now I could go back to uni and continue studying that to get, I could do the last couple of modules and get that biomed degree, but to what end? You know,
Right.
like I've gotten what I need from it. I don't feel like I need to continue. In the
Mhm.
same way that I also did marketing psychology and digital world building. So like it
Mhm.
was a new module back then, and it was about internet, the internet,
Mhm.
and the different iterations of the internet, Web 1 and Web 2, and potentially the next iteration, Web 3, which is very interesting because looking back and having studied that and
Right.
uh, the things that we were investigating and the things that I was writing about have kind of come to pass. I'll have to get those essays because I've got so many of them. And particularly, I was interested in the way that sense of self is developed online and digital
Mhm.
identity. And I can see so much of what I was thinking back then in my work now. So that's
Mhm.
a really interesting comparison.
Mhm. Yeah, it's really, really interesting. Now, what got you exposed to NFTs and Web3? Like, who really, exposed you to that?
That was psych. So it was January 2021, and we were deep in I was trying to do all the community work that I was trying to do online and in person whenever I could, depending on the situation,
Mhm.
with lockdowns and everything. And the work that we were doing through the agency had gone from very exciting dynamic work linked to real life events globally to COVID explainer videos
Mhm.
for internal companies. So it wasn't very interesting. There was so much going on at that time, housing crises, and oh god, it was
Mhm.
crazy times. So I was becoming very frustrated, and I think that this is the story of a lot of people in this space,
Mhm.
where I felt like the work that I was doing didn't have the impact that I wanted it to have anymore.
Right.
And so what I was doing instead um, was looking for that alternative, right? Psych has been in a digital art collective for many, many years called Depthcore, and
Mhm.
it has been a very inspiring place for him to be part of, but also for me to have witnessed and be aware of all of these artists. Many of them are in the space now, but some of them were
Mhm.
minting NFTs and said, you guys should check this out. It's amazing. Uh,
Mhm.
so he did. He started making NFTs, and I immediately was like, "Holy shit! This is it! Like, this is what I've
Right.
been looking for. This is the new, environment for me to be building in." And
Mhm.
it felt like a door had been flung open. Like, and the light came in, and I was like, well, this is what my life is going to be now. So I couldn't think about anything else after that. Like it was all
Right.
encompassing. I was just so, I mean, I was obsessed. I probably still am obsessed. Whatever. But yeah, so that was
Mhm.
it. And then I started seeing what was happening with the PFP
Mhm.
thing, the movement, the way that communities were forming around that, and again, the digital identities were forming, and it was just so fascinating to me.
Mhm.
So yeah, that was it.
Yeah, that's really, really cool. Now, I want to get into just in regards to DeadFellaz. So, like, how'd you come up with the collection? Like, what was the whole process behind it, and what's the mission behind it as well?
DeadFellaz was born through the lack of I guess opportunity of me to participate in the space. So I was again fascinated by what was going on. I thought it was amazing. But I didn't see anything that I wanted to use as a PFP, and I didn't see any communities that reflected what I was interested in or what I believed in, or, you know, I didn't see where it was going. I feel like communities for me need to have a strong mission and a strong voice. So
Right.
I was looking for that. It took me a while, honestly. The reason, like, I was trying to find my community for a while, like, where is everyone, you know? And when the
Yeah.
demographic is so it's so male, and it's I mean, it's male and it's white, right, and straight,
Right.
and so that's those things all together. Like, I love everyone, but at the same time, you kind of want representation, don't you? You want to see yourself in the space, and I didn't. But then I was looking through Twitter Spaces, and I heard a voice that I had heard when I was lurking in Clubhouse, and that was Mech. And Mech and Ed Balloon, Brittany Pierre, Patrick, like, they were hosting these BIPOC LGBTQ Twitter Spaces. And that was the first time that I listened, and I was like, okay, I found my people. Like, this is it, you know? And I felt like all of a sudden I had kind of validation to participate. And so I did. And I started talking and I started posting, and I became more confident in being like, okay, no, I'm gonna put my flag here, and this is what I'm gonna do. But yeah, I wanted to do that for other people as well. So DeadFellaz was really me wanting to have a PFP, but to build something that opened doors for people to also see themselves and want to be a part of it all. So DeadFellaz itself, the name just came to me. Honestly, the whole idea kind of came to me as a formed thing. It was really, I mean, DeadFellaz is multiple things. It's a play on the fascination that society has had with spooky and macabre things forever.
Right.
Forever and ever, from the beginning of time, you know, stories that people would tell their children around a fire, and you know, into fairy tales that were published, and movies, TV shows, like all of those things now.
Right.
We love it as a society. It will never go away. It's not a trend. It's just part of who we are. It's a facet of humanity. So it was a play on that, because I didn't really see anything that had that. Zombies obviously have a very important part of pop culture after they were brought into pop culture from folklore. And so I wanted to do that. I wanted to bring everything that I was passionate about. So I was working with Psych then, because obviously he's the artist. So we were thinking about, like, okay, what do we love? Video games and music and fashion and queer culture. It was all kind of, we were pulling things that we just love that are a part of our life and put them into this collection. The traits as we designed them were not gendered, so that when they were generated as full designs, they would be inherently non-gendered, but the holder could then, you know, determine that for themselves. I just wanted something where people could look and it was just kind of not obvious. You could just, you know, it's subjective and nuanced, and that spectrum, I think, is where we're headed as a society, whether people like it or not.
Right.
And I personally embrace it. So yeah.
Yeah, but I definitely want to ask this question, because what are some things you draw inspiration from, like any specific video games or movies or music? You know, because with DeadFellaz, I can see like System of a Down, or like you know, Slipknot or something, or My Chemical Romance, Green Day, a little bit with that. You know, like, what are some things you drew inspiration from?
Yeah, that's so true. You're picking up exactly what I'm putting down. So yes, all of those I love. System of a Down especially. They are one of my absolute favorite bands. But it was really anything counterculture and anything that that grabbed us. And so things, but things that are deeply resonant to humanity, right, and the nature of humanity. So I find that a lot of 80s and 90s animations do that and did that really well. We've
Right.
kind of moved into this place where, especially children's animation now, it's like quite void of humanity. It's almost like a bit too escapist and doesn't really get into that deep sort of visceral human experience, which I think cartoons like Daria and
Right.
Doug, like those, they did, and
Right.
so those sorts of cartoons we brought in. We loved Scott Pilgrim, drag as just in general, and there's so many different traits that you will find in the collection that are like, oh, is this, and oftentimes it is. So we did want to pay homage to a lot of things that we love in that way, and it's been fun, like exploring that with the community as well.
Yeah, that's really, really cool. But I definitely want to ask, what are some like the benefits that holders get with holding a dead fella?
So much. Okay, so access to everything that we release, first and foremost, access to all of our community spaces. So we have Discord, and we have real life events in various locations. We have metaverse events in various locations. We're partnered with multiple metaverses. So we have like Sandbox, Decentraland, World Wide Web, many more. But World Wide Web is actually my favorite one right now. It's a pixel-based metaverse, and it is built by a really brilliant team. And the thing that I love about it is so nostalgic, but it's also it brings that nostalgia and that futurism together in an actual playable world, right? So you can use it right away. Like if you have a dead fella right now, you can go into there and you can be a little guy and go around and play whatever games they've got in there, and it's just really great. So I love that a lot. Tools and resources we have in development. So streaming avatars, so you can do Zooms as your PFP or create content as your PFP. God, so much stuff. Releases of merch. I don't really like to position merch as utility, because I feel like it's not. It's just a brand extension. Merch is merch, you know. I think it's utility if you get the option to have something that's token gated, or if it's like special, or maybe it's I don't know, customized or something like that. But just general merch, I really don't feel is utility. I think it's just branding, but that's debatable. Some people think it is. And then lots more things are coming. We're having a website overhaul right now with like a community hub that really kind of defines the community experience. That's something that we're very focused on this year, is providing the community a fully fleshed out experience, and an opportunity to really flourish as creators as well. So the DAO of the Dead is coming. That's being developed right now. Yeah, bunch of stuff.
Yeah, that's really, really cool. But I definitely want to move forward and talk about Dead Friends, because I find Dead Friends, very, very cool as well. So is that a part 2 from DeadFellaz, or is that like a whole separate collection, you think?
It's its own collection. It's within the DeadFellaz world. It has its own story. So Dead Friends they were liberated by DeadFellaz from labs. They were being experimented on. There's like a whole little comic around that. That's really cool. Dead Friends is essentially like 13 collections in one. There are 13 species with all of their own traits, so it was a really huge undertaking to get that out. The designs themselves, I think, is some of the strongest IP that I've seen come out of the space. It's just they're so. The characters themselves are so funny, and they hold so much character, which I love. You can kind of imagine the story. And I love that about DeadFellaz as well. You can look at a design and you can imagine the backstory to it really easily. And it's quite fun to do that. And it's interesting to see, the stories that people put to them. The point of Dead Friends is a trading card game. So the trading card game is really, and it's like an extension into a different world, because the world of trading card games, trading cards, but also playing those tabletop games, is its own industry, right? And so for us, it's like, okay, we have this IP and it's amazing, but how do we find use cases outside of this existing ecosystem? Because right now we've got a certain liquidity pool. There's only a certain amount of people in this space right now, and it's very, very small in comparison with these giant industries. Okay, how do we apply the IP to those industries and to not onboard them like we're missionaries, but like, bring Web3 use cases to people that enhance the experience that they're already having. So that's what we're doing with DeadFellaz. People are always like, when game. If I release a game right now, it would not be good for the collection. It would not be good for anything because, the ecosystem is not ready for it right now. Like, now is not the time. But we are working on it, and I'm very excited. We've got lots of other developments in entertainment and media as well that are on the way, which I'm also really excited about. So I mean, brand building is a whole journey, right? And something that, while it's like we're moving very, very quickly, and the people that you see in the space building brands right now are moving very, very quickly. You don't see this stuff happen in a year. This stuff takes like 5 years, usually more, but you're seeing that kind of condensed into a matter of months for people, which is just so wild to be on that train. But it's definitely fun, and moving at this like astonishing speed just means you have to stay flexible, and so that's what we're doing. It's really fun.
Yeah, that's really, really cool. But I definitely want to get into just in regards to like when you first released DeadFellaz, like what was like some of the responses or conversations surrounding DeadFellaz? Like what was the reactions?
It was great. It was exactly what I hoped. We were really embraced by the artist community that was already established in Web3. So a lot of artists that I had personally admired for a long time, really jumped in, and they were just so supportive. Rarible, who I think is like still our 5th biggest holder and is like a good friend of mine now. We were both big fans of his work. Lerona, who did the Boys collection, who arguably, changed the space with that collection. She embraced us. Mark the Habibi, like these people were early adopters, people that saw what we were doing and shared with their networks. And I think that growth was really great for us because it set the tone of what we wanted, which was just so fantastic. And we still hold those values today, and work really hard to develop to them. So yeah.
Yeah, that's really, really cool. But now with your children, have your children had like any like ideas concerning like the process of DeadFellaz or anything? Like what was their reaction to it?
My kids?
Yeah.
I mean, it's so funny. So we launched in 2021. So my kids were younger, 2 years younger, and they're really young now. So I have a 3-year-old. So my 3-year-old was not even, how old was she? Was she even 1? I don't know. That math is hard. But young. She was young. So everyone's like, how do you deal with the Wen crowd? I have 3 young children. I've been dealing with Wen for 8 years now. But they love it. They don't quite understand the space, which honestly I'm happy about. Don't think the space is quite ready to host children just yet. It will, and I'm really encouraged seeing many young children and young people embrace the tech. In fact, one of our earliest community members was a girl called Jolie, and I think, how old was she? Like 9, maybe younger, maybe 10 or 11 or older. I can't remember. She was young. She entered an art contest that we did and sent a video. Her parents helped her, and it was just, it was really amazing to see that effect on young girls, being inspired to create and participate. It was really amazing. So I hope my kids grow and see that as well. Obviously, I see kind of the ugly side of this industry as well. So it is kind of terrifying. I have 3 daughters, and to see that firsthand and to know that, you know, what it's like. I hope that I'm able to have an impact to change it before they have to deal with this similar thing. But yeah, my 6-year-old mostly is like the spooky one, and she really loves, really loves DeadFellaz. Yeah, we have a lot of zombie drawings and spooky drawings in our house now because of this. It's fun.
Yeah, that's really, really adorable. But I definitely want to get into just in regards to collaboration. So you've collaborated with DraftKings and also Wrangler. Like, how do those collaborations come about?
Just through working in the space. So the Wrangler team were holders, some of the people that were on the Wrangler Web3 team, and they came to our event, the Dead Zone that we put on in New York, in Brooklyn last year, and they loved it and got in touch and wanted to collaborate, which we were very thrilled with. What really surprised me about working with both DraftKings and Wrangler is their lean into innovation and to experimentation. It was, the crazy ideas, especially with Wrangler, were coming from Wrangler, which is, I didn't anticipate. I thought it would be the other way around, but it was really great. They're fantastic as a team to work with. It was honestly an honor to be able to work with a legacy brand and to apply our IP to that. DraftKings too. Matt Kalish is a holder of DeadFellaz. He had the rarest one for a while and then sold it and got the second rarest one. And yeah, so it just made sense to work together. And their team is also very wonderful. It was really cool to work with the NFLPA and do that the iteration of those players in that collection. It's just really cool. Honestly, it's been a ride. Like, if you'd have told me 5 years ago, you're going to make something up and then you're going to get to just work with all these brands, I'd be like, what are you talking about?
Right.
Like we had clients and my life was kind of crazy before anyway, but like it's another level because it's something that we care about and love and created from ourselves. So, yeah.
Yeah, and that's what I find very cool about DeadFellaz. It's so unique because, it really tells like a story. You know what I mean? It has that Halloween everyday type of feel. And what I like about also with the whole collection is that people are doing fan art. Like for me, as of recently, I did the nails. So it's really, really cool what you guys are doing.
That's honestly one of my favorite parts of this whole thing is seeing that co-creation happen. Like, I have imagined this and Syke and I have created it and put it out in the world, and then it's like to see people pick it up and be like, I can do something cool with this too, and like extend it into a whole different context. And like that's so wild, and it just speaks to that cultural relevance of it. Like, you picked it up and just made these sick nails. Most people loved it because they're awesome, but like to be able, like, you and I have collaborated essentially, and that wasn't an intention of mine when I created the collection. It's just this bonus amazing thing that happens naturally, and I love that so much. So that's kind of why the DAO, like, how do we channel that beautiful energy of collaboration and co-creation into something that benefits the community and extends the brand in a way that honors the community and their involvement. So yeah, that's exciting. I'm really happy about that.
Yeah, absolutely. But in terms of just like for anyone who wants to start a successful NFT brand, NFT collection, what are some things that the most important things that somebody should understand before jumping into the space and really establishing themselves as an NFT brand?
Yeah. I mean, it depends on the intention of the brand or the collection. I would say that, like, don't underestimate the work. The work is not in launching. Like, that is not that's not it. It's so hard to get to that point. It's so much work, but it's also like that age-old saying of, when you launch, then the work begins. It's like so true with Web3. I underestimated it myself. I was like, oh, cool. So we've launched and now, we can, because I've run digital businesses before. I know what it's like. This was like turbocharged. It was crazy. And I guess the momentum is different now. So it's a different environment. If you launched in 2021, it was like you hit the ground running, like going. Now it's kind of a bit slower, but you still really have to work so hard. Although, and this is where this comes in, if you are building something, because you have to work so hard, it has to be something that you're so passionate about that like you can't not do, So the people, now, I've had a shitty day on the internet. It's been a nightmare, honestly, the last day or so. Why do I stay? Because I love my job. I'm so passionate about what I'm doing. I couldn't not do it, So like bad days come, and they will come. To get through those bad days, you have to have that mission and that like drive, which I have with DeadFellaz, and with everything else that I do. And also I would prioritize rest. A lot of people, including myself, have like, worked for the last 2 years straight on this stuff, and it's not sustainable. Me moving to LA has helped a lot because I'm able to kind of have a normal day a little bit more. But I know that people don't do that. I also have children, which is forced break. I cannot be on this all the time because I have priorities in them. Right. So I am pulled away.
Absolutely.
I am pulled away from my work, and I'm not resting because I'm looking after my children. It's forced break away from the space. You see people lose themselves to this space because it is all encompassing. It's completely absorbing. I get it's exciting. But you are a human being at the end of the day,
Exactly.
Yeah,
absolutely. And one thing I really like about the NFT space, my time being on Twitter and being in these communities, range from you guys' a space, super cute, a kid called Beast, and some of these other communities, is that they're focused on giving back to people. It's not just for the sake of, okay, we're going to sell this collection and we're going to make money for ourselves. Like, no, it's like, in being invested in engaging with the community. That's what I really like about that.
Yeah, I think that there needs to be a meaning underlying that means more than the financial return. I do think that that's a bit of a, it's like it's so essential to the space, but it's also such a terrible facet of the space as well, because it's like wealth is one of the only utilities that people have really valued, right? In that if it doesn't return wealth, it's not worth it, which completely undermines the human aspect of all of this, but also the societal value and the emotional value, and there's so much that goes into it that's not financial. And so I guess, it's essential because it's like it's the foundation that we've built on, but at the same time, I think the focus of it will start to shift because there are so many people in the space doing things that really benefit people outside of just returning profit, which, hopefully both can happen. I think both can happen. I believe that.
Yeah, absolutely. But I definitely want to get into just in regards to you're a huge advocate for NFT artists, especially, receiving their royalties. And there was something going on with Opensea. I don't know much detail about that in regards to them and the royalties. So if you could expand on that, that would be great.
Yeah, so when I joined the space, a large kind of driver of a lot of people joining the space was the idea that creators would be paid royalties in perpetuity for their creations after the initial sale. This has funded the development of every NFT brand that every single one, including mine. The value of this was exponential because it provided people that were not in that typical cohort of, people that were able to just build something so quickly out of nothing. It doesn't happen to people like me, right? It just doesn't like that. It's that opportunity came through this space and through that design. However, various marketplaces have removed that. With what people signed up for. It wasn't in the user agreements that people agreed to when putting their work on those platforms. And so what it's done is it has put us in a position where creators can make money from the initial mint. Yep, cool, awesome. But then there is nothing else after that, which it slows everything down. It stops innovation. It stops progress. Brands like mine don't need to rely on that because we do have the opportunity now for other revenue streams. And that's been the focus. That's been what we've been building for the last 2 years. But newcomers to the space don't have the same options or advantages that I had or that everyone else had that's, at the top of their game right now. And for me, that's like we're closing doors now, which isn't in my wheelhouse. I don't want to be closing doors. I don't want to have received an opportunity and then to be like, okay, well, I've made it, so too bad everyone else. We then we create an environment where creators, especially ones that don't typically get funded, have no option. And that to me is horrific. It's devastating. It won't last. It's not sustainable. When you have an ecosystem that's been working and you remove parts of that ecosystem, something is going to go wrong. So for me, it's not good, but I'm not completely disheartened because I know that there are a lot of people building incredible things and alternatives. And I don't for a second believe that the marketplaces that are out right now are what we're going to be using in 5 years' time.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, in regards to anyone who is a new NFT artist, like how important is it for one to understand their worth and their value, especially when it comes down to, within the NFT space, in regards to pricing, and things like that?
This is hard. I feel like there's so many things at play, and right now the market is so slow. So I get messages all the time from artists that I have collected or that I know asking me what they can do differently, like what they're doing wrong. And they're not doing anything wrong. It is just the market right now has slowed. It's not gone. It's just you will always be a creator and an artist regardless of how your work is received, and that value can be found internally, right? So like if you believe your work is worth something, then it is, because it's subjective and it's nuanced. There are things that go into play, like market movements, and like if you're researching people that are doing similar things to you, not necessarily the same thing, but maybe in a similar context, how that's being received, how that's being priced. But again, ultimately, it's just down to how you believe your value is set. And I think that that's okay, because people will meet you where you are if if they receive the work how you have intended it to be received. But it's a funny thing because it's like artists don't create. I mean, I know you know this because you're an artist, but artists don't create with just the intention of it being commodified, right? Like you create for creative expression, and what could you put on that? So it's kind of hard.
Yeah, right. That's totally understandable. But considering all your experience, being in the space, would you say you know all there is to know of what is an NFT, or is there still, a bit of a growing what could be an NFT? And is there anything in terms of like what is innovative in regards to like of NFTs?
Oh God, yeah. I mean, I know what an NFT is, but the extension of how that can be applied to our world and our life is continuously evolving. I also like to keep an open mind because I only recently, 2021 is really recent, discovered this was a thing, and like I had thought that stuff like this was coming, but I also, for so many of us, and the extent of how it has was really beyond my comprehension at first. Like it was truly a new thing for me to realize that, oh, this is happening. And so a lot of this stuff is beyond our comprehension. You know, you'll see developments that happen and you'll be like, what the hell? I hadn't conceptualized that before. It's very new. It's like tasting a new flavor or seeing a new color. You know? So it will continuously evolve, but I'm excited, honestly. I feel like the application of this tech, any tech, is both a good thing and a bad thing. I'm hoping the good outweighs the bad. But for me, I do see this as an opportunity to challenge structures that have been put in place that just don't serve everyone. I mean, they work perfectly well, don't they? Because they're designed for that. They're designed to only benefit a few. So I think that this is a real challenge to all of that, to centralized finance, to centralized opportunity and wealth and all of that. And so, yeah, I think it's going to galvanize a lot of the work that people have been doing over many years. Change, societal change and all of that is something that I'm very passionate about. And I hope to be able to utilize this tech to further. I do feel like the impact that I have now is way more than I had before I used this tech. So yeah, I would encourage anyone that's listening that if you're in an industry that you're thinking, oh, I don't really know what the application of this could be to what I do, there will be one. I guarantee it. Just try and find it because it's there for sure.
Yeah, I can absolutely agree. And to add on to that, you know, there's different industries that are slowly jumping into Web3, you know, because I know you did a space not too long ago, like an hour or so ago, in regards to with GQ, you know, GQ is getting into Web3, you know, fashion, you know, designers and brands are getting into Web3 and NFTs and, you know, a little bit of the beauty industry as well. So, yeah, so it's slowly, it's traveling to other industries.
It is. And it's just a matter of finding use cases that make sense, right? I think so many people, especially brands that entered over the last year or so, it was for them like, oh, we'll release an NFT collection. And it's like, okay, why? You know, for what? Why? How does that benefit your customers or your communities now? What extension does it apply to the product or the service that you have? Like, why? And for many people, they couldn't answer that question. They just released it because they wanted to, because whatever, it was what people were doing. You could make $1 million in 10 seconds. But it needs to mean more than that if we're going to have an industry that's sustainable. So that's why I'm encouraged to see brands like GQ actually putting considered effort into like, okay, so how can we weave in our existing business model into this? Which that is the way forward, I think. And I found that with a lot of legacy brands that I've spoken to recently, they're really thinking hard about their business and what the future looks like.
Yeah, right, exactly. Now, where do you see the future of DeadFellaz in 5 to 10 years?
Oh God. Well, I mean, if we're going at this speed, I don't know, Mars, the space. Like I don't want to say to the moon, but like yeah, again, this space is beyond comprehension sometimes, so I truly don't know. I can tell you where I want to be and where I feel confident that we will be is a pillar of pop culture by then. I mean, we already have this weird cult niche following in this tiny industry that we're in. You know, it's very small, but we're known. And it's the same with all of these brands. Like there's not that much mainstream cut through right now. So for us over the next few years, especially this year, but the next few years, it's really finding those ways to cut through and to have that that expansion into the actual cultural zeitgeist, right? That is what I want. That's what I see happening for a few brands in this space. You know, you can kind of tell, can't you? Like you see certain things and you're like, no, that's very special. So I can almost feel the ones that will get to that point. And to be honest, I don't see that it's related to floor price or the metrics that we use in this space to assign value. I think it's beyond that. But yeah, that's what I see.
Yeah, it's really, really awesome. Now, how would you define success to you?
People keep mentioning Ikigai recently, that concept of like, is it good for the world? Do I like it? Am I good at
Right.
it? Can I be paid for it? All that sort of thing.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like, though, success is so nuanced. I don't see success as like financial success. I see it more of like contentment. Like, have I had positive impact internally and externally? I think that's
Right.
it. I think
Mm-hmm.
that's my definition of success. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's really, really cool. Last but not least, where could people find you on social media? How could people support DeadFellaz, Dead Friends? How could people get involved?
Yeah, you can find me on social media. I'm on Twitter. I personally am Betty _ NFT. You can follow my co-founder and the artist for DeadFellaz is Psych. That's PSYCH _ NFT. And then we have DeadFellaz, which is DeadFellaz on Twitter. DeadFellaz is on Instagram. It's deadfellaz.io. I'm on Instagram, betty.dfz. And yeah, I'm on LinkedIn, but I hardly go on there. I find
Me too.
it's great. It's great. I don't want to fade LinkedIn too much. It's pretty great. But at the same time, it's just like, I don't know. You know.
Yeah, I don't use it that much either. But also too, do you guys still do like Fellas Friday, or are you guys just taking a break from that?
No, we do. Yeah. Every Friday we have Fellas Fridays Twitter space. That's on Twitter. We have AMAs in the Discord every Monday morning. We have a public one and a private one in the specific channels in Discord. Yeah, you can find the Discord through the website.
Awesome.
And yeah.
Yeah, it's really, really cool. Well, thank you so much, Betty, for jumping on the show. I love what you're doing. I love the DeadFellaz collection. When I first saw it, I was like, yo, these characters are really, really cool. These PFPs are really, really cool. So I was like, yo, let me make some nail art. So,
Listen, they're the greatest. The greatest. I love them. You're an amazing artist. So thank you so much for making those and for persisting and having me on the show.
Yeah. Thank you so much. This was absolutely good. I enjoyed this conversation. This was really awesome.
Thanks so much, Asia.
Yeah, thank you. Take care. Bye-bye. Hello, everybody. Thank you all so much for watching. Please like, comment, share, and subscribe to the channel. Be sure to click the bell for notifications. Also follow me on TikTok, Twitter, and Instagram. Also visit my website, ASIATHABIRD.com, and look out for more interviews involving NFTs, crypto, Web3, and the metaverse. Take care.